we are joined by the incoming Zimbabwe Rugby Union president, that is Losson Mtongwiza, formerly a vice president during the last term, bidding out the incumbent Aaron Jani in the elections which were held on Saturday. He also bid out Gerald Subana and Gerald Nyamutsamba. And he joins us this morning to talk about his new tenure. It's going to be a 4-year tenure, is it?
Sure,
a new 4-year tenure. So, Losson, good morning. And first things first, congratulations. You're now the head honcho at Zimbabwe Rugby. Maybe, obviously, it's just been a whirlwind since. What did it feel like for you when those results came out, especially given how close that election was between you and your former president, Aaron Jani?
Well, you know, I expected to have a much bigger win than actually what I received. So I was a little disappointed by the margin because I had done my work. I was underground. I wasn't playing to the gallery. So I expected to actually win. So I am not here by chance. I think I deserve to be here, and I'm ready to be here.
And speaking about deserving to be here, what are some of the things that you felt like you had put in the work to get the result that you got on Saturday? What are some of the things that you think got you the votes that you needed to become the next Zimbabwe Rugby Union president?
Well, there are a few little things. There's a time that I was acting president for about 2 months. And we've heard about 4 key things that World Rugby were asking for. And for the last 5 or 6 years, we were struggling to get those things going. And in that 2 months, I managed to do those things and sent that paperwork in. And some of those things are the Zimbabwe Rugby Union gender and equity policy. And I managed to do that and send that paperwork in a board review. And World Rugby were very impressed. And from there, we got a very good review that obviously the board was privy to. And from there, I just knew that things can turn around. And there are a couple of things that I also wanted to do in the union. Things like the development high-performance plan, a sustainable one. I then immediately knew my time is up. I must put my hand up and get on with it.
All right. Well, some people might argue that obviously you were part of the last establishment in your role as the vice president. What are some of the differences we can expect now that you are the one who's leading and taking us forward in terms of Zimbabwe Rugby now? What differences can we expect from the role that you played as a vice president working under Aaron Jani, and now you are leading the way under this new board? So
there are a few differences. When I was vice president, I was in a supportive role. I was leading with the vision of the president. You know, so and when you are in a vice president position, you never try and look to overtake the president because it's not your vision, and you're there to support the president. So obviously you'd make suggestions, and I made a lot of these suggestions. Some of the things that I will implement right now are things that I suggested to the president and to the last establishment, but they were not taken up. Things like development. I talked about development year in, year out, and I talked about how we can actually go to the high-density areas and create teams and train guys and create employment. Because we've got a lot of youth unemployment, we've got a lot of youngsters who are out there, and rugby is a macho sport, and they will love it if we went there and trained them. But no one took it up. So it's one of those things that you must expect that I will do. I want to train at least 1,000 new coaches per season. Starting this season, I know it's already a shortened period, but we must achieve it. We will appoint a director of development within the next 24 to 48 hours. We will get on with it. We've got no time. In as far as the other things are concerned, the union doesn't have infrastructure. Union doesn't have offices. The union lost its lease to the police grounds in the late 90s. Now, no one has done anything about it in the last 30 years, 33 years. I will do something about it. We need to acquire a long lease somewhere and build union offices. We will be meeting with the government to see how they can assist us through our Ministry of Sport, obviously through SRC. We will be looking to ask for that piece of land, a 99-year lease on a piece of land for us to be able to develop it. We've got people that are willing to assist us. But the key thing, Tich, if I may tell you, that I really want to be known for is a sustainable high-performance program. We have players out there, people like Blythe Mabesere, who's now at Sharks. People like Victor Mpunga, who is out in France. The Beast, everyone knows about the Beast. But these players that I'm talking about are players who were here 4 or 5 years ago. I was vice president and they were here and I was giving them a handshake at Harare Sports Club. I was giving them a handshake at All Dararians. Well played. But those players are now playing professional rugby. Why? Because they took a chance, they invested in themselves, they looked at the programs, and it's very easy for us to be able to multiply those numbers. We're talking 2. By the time I leave, I want 40, I want 60 players will have turned professional because it's an opportunity for them to make a living out of rugby.
All right, listening to you, obviously, I was going to ask what your vision was, but I think you've sort of unpacked it, focusing on development, especially looking at high-performance institutions, and then infrastructure development, not just in terms of the offices, but from what you hinted about the police ground lease and everything, also that speaks to a home for Zimbabwe rugby.
Absolutely.
But I think as good as that is, a lot of fans will be thinking, all right, it's been almost 3 decades now, or probably even more longer, since we've been to the Rugby World Cup. That is the holy grail. We've consistently lost out to Namibia. Our Sevens rugby team hasn't really been playing on the Sevens circuit for a long time. Our women's rugby, I think, over the last couple of years has been growing, but could do better. In terms of the national teams and their performances and the vision, what is your vision for the Sables, the Cheetahs, the Lady Sables?
Right, so if you look at my whole plan is not just about going specific for an event. So yes, if you put in the work, you get the rewards. So in other words, we are trying to go to the World Cup, and the World Cup is an event. It's one event. But if we put the effort in on a daily basis, consistently, into training and education, into a high-performance setup where our players are looking to better themselves, they are looking to actually make something out of rugby, something financial, something that is life-changing for them. From those players, we'll actually be able to pick the players that we need and go and qualify for the World Cup. That is the area where we've lacked over the last few years. And when the game turned professional in 1995, Zimbabwe remained an amateur country. The likes of Kenya, the likes of Uganda took on training and go to the next level, and they are continuing to train. Right now, they are very close to overtaking us because of the fact that we don't train to that level. So having said that, I will throw the kitchen sink at the World Cup. I will ensure that we qualify for the World Cup. In the Sevens game, you will see, just this year, we will go back to the Challenger Series. So baby steps, Challenger Series first, which is coming in the top 3 in the Rugby Africa tournament. Last year we came 4th and we lost out. This year we will come in the top 3. We will aim to win it in Mauritius. We'll go there with our best team. We'll do everything it takes to go there to try and win it. But if we come 1st or 2nd or 3rd, we will make it into the Challenger Series and we'll go back in. In July, we'll go to Uganda to try and stay in the top 4 of Rugby Africa so that we are part and parcel of the World Cup 2027.
Right. And I know one of the biggest or the most successful areas of rugby in Zimbabwe has been schools rugby. But there's also been criticism that, it's restricted to a few private schools. That's where we see the top quality rugby. In terms of your development program, how do you plan to bridge that gap so that it's not just your top 8 private schools that are competing against each other? I think even now we're having situations where the traditional public schools, your Prince Edward Churchill, are sort of falling away from that competitiveness. How does your vision feed into democratizing the game, first of all, and making sure that a kid in Mbare, in Sakuva, in Popoma can also have an opportunity to compete in that level, and then how we bridge that gap from schools to translate that to either the Go Sharks or the Sables or any of the other senior national teams? Right.
So our development program is specific to the NASH schools. So the former Group A schools, the schools that played mostly in that Mwana Group tournament, the schools that are out there. So if we go there and we train up to 1,000 coaches in those areas, so we're looking at that whole Nash group giving us the players, the coaches, and we're trying to find the school leavers, 17-year-olds to 22-year-olds. We want to give them a level 1 course. We want to encourage them to start teams. And if you can start a team, you get recognition from the union, you get equipment, and then from there, we will encourage you to speak to your chairman within your province, and then we'll encourage the schools that are in that area to take rugby on. And once we've done that, at the end of this season, to start off with, we want to choose a Nash under 14, under 16, under 18, both boys and girls, to go to Craven Week next year. So we are not only just going to go to Craven Week with one set of teams like we used to do. From next year, we're going to do 2 per each age group. The other one will be the development team. But that development team is getting chosen this year by August. And the training will start in earnest in August for next year, July. So that throughout the season, the off-season, they are training. As soon as the season starts next year, we will look to get those little national teams to play as national teams in the under-14 tournament at CBC, the under-14 tournament at St. George's, coming from the development schools, coming to play there. Then, obviously, the senior teams will go and play at Mana Group as a national team. They also play, hopefully, in the Derby Day as a national team from the Nash provinces. So that when we then go to Craven Week, we're sending now the 8 teams that are now going in, coming in from those development areas.
All right, Losson, before I let you go, obviously, just looking at the election results, you said yourself you were expecting a more dominant victory, but I think there was just 1 vote, if I'm correct, separating you and Aaron Jani, 7-6. Looking at that, maybe that speaks to maybe a bit of division within the rugby circles. As part of your vision, how do you then make sure that everybody gets past the election season and you comes together and works for the good of rugby? And maybe you could speak directly to the people that are home in terms of how you plan to make sure that rugby is united and is going forward in a positive, healthy way.
So I don't think that the 1 point difference speaks to a big split. To me, it's a game of ideas. Some people felt that my ideas were maybe a little far-fetched. My ideas were not there, so they were not sure whether they want to go with that. Some people wanted stability, to just continue with the status quo. The reason I stepped out and said, no, we need to change and we need to go one direction is because I'm very strong in a specific area and a specific vision. And rugby, people want to see performance. So once performance falls into place, everyone is going to be united. They are not into names. I don't even want them to know about me or know about what I do. It's not important. What's important is the work that I'm willing to put in, and then they will have a buy-in. At the end of the day, in 10 years' time, in 12 years' time, no one should remember my name. They should remember the work that this administration did and how we changed it. And if at that time Zimbabwe is qualifying for the World Cup all the time, everyone will be excited. And that's all we want to do.
Losson, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations once again on winning the presidency with the Zimbabwe Rugby Union. I think Zimbabwe, we are a very passionate rugby country, but sometimes I think we felt like rugby hasn't given back to us as much as we'd want. So hopefully your vision, I like the ideas around high performance and development, and especially around infrastructure, and just making sure that as many people from around and who are invested in rugby get a part to play. So thank you very much, and all the best in your tenure.
Thank you very much, sir.
Konapo, ipapo pa ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, the place to be.